Okay, here we go then. The last race of the day, it's all to play for. Race 2, it all comes down to the next 14 laps. And away they go. Now, and there's Darren spinning out as well. Darren, there's contact there, push Kieran wide. Oh, but he's gone off. What's going on? Shane's also there in the BMW. Oh, nearly loses it. Kieran's going to have to slow down. No, he's gone too much. It's Josh here, and he is leading. This is fantastic for Josh. Oh, a bit of a love tap. And Josh, oh my God, who's going to take it? I think it's Darren. I think it's going to be Rob. Rob gets it. He's actually on the grass. This isn't good for Tom. And he's made the move. Look at that. Through Eau Rouge. Oh, that's Mike. Mike's gone off. Oh, Craig sideways. Big time. Is it going to be enough? No, Sam takes it and takes the title ahead of Tom. Here's your reverse grid then for the final race here at Red Bull Ring. Chris Hensby in the BMW M4 is on pole position next to the Nissan GTR of Harry Cook. Row 2, we've got Tom Foster in the K-Tech Racing Subaru WRX next to Rob Pellet in the Nissan GTR for Elliott Racing. Row 3, we see Darren Parker in the Renault Megane for Parker Racing next to Mark Nichol in another Renault Megane. Row 4, we've got Stephen Heath in the Subaru WRX. Next to him, we've got Joe Burrows in the Mazda Atenza. Row 5 is the other Elliott Racing of Craig Kellett, and we've got Mike Kuipers also in the Nissan GTR. On the back row of the grid is Kieran Thomas in the second K-Tech Subaru WRXs, and at the back we've got Josh Hardy in the Renault Megane. So the final race of the day is to get underway here at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. Chris Hensby in the BMW M4 on his first ever event on pole, but it's a good start from Harry Cook in the Nissan. Tom's also got a good start as they all go around the first corner, looking a little bit better than what it did in race 2. So Stephen is behind Mark then as they all stream down into the second corner. Unfortunately, Chris already down to 5th in the BMW, but nevertheless, let's see if he can keep it mid-pack. And Rob already into 3rd now, just behind Harry, and he's got Mark on the outside, and Mark has got into 3rd. That's a great pass by Mark there. Oh, there's contact, and Rob is hit big time by Stephen. Luckily, Rob isn't affected too bad. It's allowed the BMW of Chris to get into 4th, but there was heavy contact there between Rob and Stephen. So let's have a little look, find out what happened, and see what happens to Stephen. Let's watch Heath as he goes way too aggressively. Look here, just way too fast into the tight hairpin there. Spins around into the gravel. Actually hits Rob, but luckily doesn't affect Rob. On board with Heath, and he avoids hitting the BMW of Chris, hits Rob, but then spins completely out. Let's go on board with Chris in the BMW and watch as Heath nearly takes out Rob into the hairpin. Yeah, there he goes. Yeah, so unfortunately Stephen just way out braked himself, spun out, hitting Rob on the way out, but Stephen went into the gravel and affecting Rob too much. So there's Stephen. He's got a bit of work there to do from the back. So Tom is leading this race, just ahead of Harry, ahead of Mark, ahead of Chris in the BMW. A little bit of a battle here between Rob and Josh is going on. On board with Rob. Again, Rob performing very strong here at Red Bull in the Nissan. Looking good. On board with Kieran, just behind Joe. in that Mazda. I think that Mazda's settled down now and he's getting some good points and could be a strong contender for season 3 if Joe intends to enter in for a full season. Darren just behind Kieran now, and Darren really needs to get those points if he's going to stay within touch of Craig going into the second half of the season and round 6. And at the moment it's tough competition to get through the pack. Mike in 11th, so also needing to get some points to keep in touch with Mark, who is currently in 3rd. So Tom's still leading, still ahead of Harry, who's ahead of Mark. And this battle here is going on between Rob now, as including Chris in the BMW, and Chris has just been passed by Rob as well. So Chris down to 7th. A little bit of contact between Josh and Chris there, so I wonder if that'll be looked at. And there's Mike drifting as always, and Heathy has caught up to the back of Darren now, so Heathy looking to get past him. So go on board with Mark and see how this top 3 pack is going. And they've just got themselves ahead of the rest of them further down, so they can have a battle between them. And Tom looking still to get his first win of the season. He had plenty of wins from the first season, but struggling here in this one to just get that win. But looking solid so far in this race, and he could get it here. But don't forget, Craig is back on the soft, so Craig looking already like his intentions are to get another win. Harry goes wide, so unfortunately allows Mark to get past. Harry looking to get his first podium, so Harry looking stronger and stronger with each race in that Nissan. Tom and Mark now fighting for the lead of this race, and this is close stuff here, looking really good. Tom goes wide, so that's allowed Mark to go ahead, but Tom could get the cutback. I think he's just got him, but Mark's on the inside for the next corner, so I think Mark might have him. Oh, Mark goes on the inside. So its pack has turned from a 4-way to a 5-way now, because Josh isn't too far behind as well. Let's go on board with Josh and let's watch the front 4 battle it out, and this could allow Josh to get up there yet again. Can you believe it? So Josh, all he needed was just that win, and that's allowed him to just be so much more confident with the car, and he's literally up there almost every race. Further down, Joe is battling out with Kieran and Heathy, and Heathy are side by side with Mike behind. So this is another close one. And there's Stephen Heath cutting the corner slightly there. Darren and Rob at the back. With, looks like Chris, unfortunately, is struggling again with that BMW. Heathy doing those wide turns again. So the lead of the race has now been taken by Craig. Craig is leading, and here we have Mark. Oh, bit of a touch there. So Mark goes ahead of Craig. So Tom is back in the lead again, with Mark in 2nd, Craig in 3rd. Hotly contested. And those lights beaming in the back of the rear view mirror of the Renault Megane here of Mark. Harry's dropped down to 5th. Josh is in 4th, sorry. And Mark goes wide. There's a little bit of touch there by Craig, but let's drop Craig down. So the lead is very close for the top 5. Mark's gone ahead of Tom. There's a little bit of a push wide. That's allowed Craig to get close. This is super close now. On board with Josh. Harry behind him. And another Nissan of Craig ahead of him. So Craig is on the inside of Tom. And just behind Mark. This is unbelievable how close it is. Josh, a bit of a tap there of the door of Tom. That slowed Josh down. That's allowed Harry to potentially get up ahead of Josh. The lead is now taken by Mark. So Mark is ahead in the Renault Megane. Red Bull backed Renault. And Craig Kellett takes the lead again. So Craig leading the race in the Nissan. He won in race 1. Countless wins this season. And all he needs to do now is gap ahead of Mark and Tom, who are battling out again for 2nd and 3rd. That Red Bull livery looking fantastic this season. So Josh looking to get past Tom now, and Harry's still on the back of this. Kieran trying to catch up, but he's a little bit behind, and is at the forefront of this pack, which is between Joe, Mike and Stephen. So Joe on the inside of Mike. As you can see Mike there. So Joe stays in 10th just behind Mike, and Darren unfortunately back down to 11th. So something must have happened to Darren, and this is probably the worst we've seen of Darren. Not necessarily his fault. I think he's just had some real bad luck. Some of the contact unfortunately on Darren has just come his way a lot. On board with Joe now, and looking to see whether Mike can get past Heathy, who's just behind Kieran. Not sorry, Kieran, it's Rob. Kieran's further ahead, not my mistake. Heath is running really wide. There's contact there between Joe and Mike. There's Chris having a race on his own still. So the lead is still Craig. Mark is still 2nd. Josh is now 3rd. So Tom's down to 4th again and has dropped out of the podium positions for a 2nd time this meeting. It's just not happening for Tom. And Tom and Harry seem to be having some fantastic battles this season. Unfortunately in race 2 they came together. It was Tom's fault for running wide and hitting the grass, but it was just unfortunate that the two came together. So they had to battle it out at the back of the pack. This time it's at the front of the pack. On board with Harry now. So Craig still leading, Mark running wide there. So we've got Darren on the back of Joe now. So Darren's catching up, Joe running wide. Look at the speed of that Mazda. He's got a great run on the back of the Mazda here. Not quite worked out. Darren running on the outside of the Mazda here of Joe. Can he get him? Get past him? Not quite. So Joe has kept 10th ahead of Darren in the Renault, and the Packers just a little bit spaced out midway through to this back end of the track, the race. Sorry, Harry still on the back end of Tom, Josh just on the back of Mark. And Craig still leading. So the cars are spaced out a little bit at the front here. Kieran having a race on his own, doing well in 6th. And so Darren has got ahead of Joe now. So Joe and Darren having a battle for 10th and 11th. And Chris has some thinking to do when he comes away from this race on how to set up that BMW to suit him better, I think. So Mark is really pushing for second now, as Josh has got ahead of Mark. So can Josh get another win? This would be unbelievable if he does. We're on lap 10 of 13, so he's got some time still to do it, but Josh has a completely renewed confidence. He came away really, really confident after winning the Independence title ahead of Callum Baker, who unfortunately hasn't come back for season 2 in this Subaru. But Josh, frustrated after the first 3 rounds, after multiple incidents, accidents, offs, spins, you name it, he had it. And so he can come away after the mid-season break into Catalonia in a few weeks' time, looking to continue and to take that battle for the independence with Mike and Mark. But the race isn't over yet, and Mark is on the back of Josh here, so this is a battle for not just the race, this is a battle for the overall positions, because they're very close, and for the independence. So this really is important for these two. And again, the laps are counting down, so Mark running a little bit wide there. Harry still behind Tom. And this battle here for 6th, 7th and 8th between Heath, Kieran and Mike has got a bit closer. So Mike looking to get some points, and Mike is struggling in this race, and this is going to hurt him in the independence, so he really needs to get past Kieran and Heathy. And he's got a great run on the exit here, so Kieran could go on the outside, sorry. Mike goes on the inside, and Mike has potentially got an opportunity to get past both Subarus. There's a bit of a push, and Kieran goes wide, but Kieran comes back in. Mike slots back in to 8th behind Kieran again. On to lap 12, the penultimate lap of the race, of the last race here at Red Bull Ring, before we go into the mid-season break. Darren now battling with Rob. And Darren has got Rob. So on the inside, Darren takes 9th ahead of Rob, and the Mazda of Joe isn't too far behind. Chris having a wild time on his own, still down at the back of the grid unfortunately, but still competing, which is good to see. So Heathy now has dropped behind Kieran. Where's Heathy? There he is. Heathy's got behind. Oh, Harry's gone wide. Has hit the gravel. So these two are having a battle between themselves. Mike has got up to 6th now and is behind Kieran still. So Kieran and Mike have got ahead of Heathy. Kieran running a little bit wide there. So that battle looking rather tasty too. Tom has dropped off a little bit behind Mark and Josh here, who are literally back to back. And this is fantastic. Two very, very similar Renaults. Nothing between them. It's all fair, it's all square. Now Mark is trying to go on the outside, and that's a great run from Mark on the outside to get that much of an exit. And the two running side by side, contact there, bit of a push, bit of a shove, looking like it's going to be a photo finish potentially between these two. If we go on board with Tom, who's behind these two, could he take an opportunity to get past them if the two end up running wide, taking each other out on this final lap? And it looks like Josh is just ahead, potentially going to take it, but we watch as Craig is taking the second win of the day and going to win the final race here at Red Bull Ring. And it's Mark who's going to take it ahead of Josh, who is ahead of Tom. So Mark takes second, Josh takes third, Tom takes fourth. Kieran's ahead of Stephen, who's ahead of Harry. And Mike will take 8th ahead of Darren in 9th, Rob in 10th, and Joe takes 11th. So it's the second win of the day for Craig in the last race there at Red Bull, ahead of Mark, who takes 2nd ahead of Josh in 3rd. Tom takes 4th ahead of Kieran in 5th. Stephen takes 6th, 7th for Harry, Mike in 8th, Darren in 9th, Rob takes 10th, and Joe takes 11th ahead of Chris, unfortunately, who finishes at the back for the second race running. So let's have a look at the points going into the mid-season break ahead of round 6 in Catalonia. Craig is 53 points ahead of Darren now, so quite a big deficit. Darren is second with 199. Third is now Josh. So Josh goes into third with 173 points ahead by 1 point. Mark in 4th. Mike is not too far behind in 5th with 169, and Tom just a little bit further down now in 6th with 162. 7th is Kieran, so Kieran jumps ahead of Sam with 122. Sam is on 8th with 115. Harry with 108, not too far behind Sam. Rob is in 10th with 94. Stephen is 11th with 82. 12th is Joe now with 46 points, who jumps ahead of Gary with 43 points, who's ahead of James with 27, and Chris is in 15th with 15 points. In the teams, Parker are quite far behind Elite Racing with a 415 now, 370 to Parker, so that's a big gap compared to what it's been all throughout the season. And K-Tech are only 8 points behind Parker, so they could take the fight to Parker for second. In the independents, Mark is still leading and is actually leading by 9 points now with 234. Mike drops down 225 points, so it's not quite as close. Josh is only 10 points behind Mike with 215 in third, with Harry 173 points. Stephen jumps up to 5th with 110 points, and Joe jumps up to 6th with 73. Gary drops down to 7th with 70 after not taking part in Red Bull. 8th is James with 34, also not taking part, and Chris is 9th with 29 points. Thank you very much for watching us here at Red Bull. Don't forget there was an extra race which we will be uploading with the Audi TT One Make race, a special race the guys have all agreed to do. And you can join us for the second half of the season at Catalonia in a couple of weeks' time. So we will see you then.